Very interesting topic, opinion news in the UK and perhaps elsewhere. Hopefully you can hear us, Angelos, and I'll let Andrew take over.
Do you want me to stand or do I sit?
As you like.
Right. Okay, you're the boss. How are you, Angelos?
Hi. Greetings from a lay-by on the M25.
On the where?
M25 in London. Very exciting.
Well done, well done. Well, thank you for that. Okay, so I've got a little intro, Angelos, before we start. So if you can bear with us, is that okay?
Sure.
So for those who don't know, GB News was launched on June 13th with a lot of fanfare and hype. Touted as a right-leaning news channel, similar in style to Fox News in the US, the channel has big financial backing and a purported budget of £60 million and a bunch of star anchors, including the pro-Brexiteer Nigel Farage. However, its launch was difficult with quite a few technical glitches, which led to some pretty nasty press reviews. The Telegraph newspaper described the channel as utterly awful, boring, repetitive, and cheapskate. 336,000 people tuned into the launch night, rising to 1 million viewers a month later. However, 0 ratings were recorded for many programs by July. Just weeks after its launch, the channel's star anchor and chairman, Andrew Neil, went on holiday, as you do, before he later resigned, stating that GB News was going in a direction that I didn't agree with. Angelos Frangopoulos is the channel's highly experienced and very seasoned CEO. He was formerly the CEO of the hugely successful Fox News channel in Australia. And as you can see, he joins us now live from the M25 via Zoom. But first, before we go to Angelos, let's take a quick look at a GB News promo for one of its leading anchors, Colin Brazier.
I'm Colin Brazier. I've reported from more than 70 countries around the world, covered wars from Afghanistan to Iraq, from Lebanon to the Balkans. I'm trying to bring that experience, that feel for events, to the studio. Something else. I'm ready to give an opinion. Today's stories with a spark. Brazier from 8 p.m. weekdays on GB News.
So there we go. So let's get back to Angelos on the line. He's there. Angelos, has it all gone terribly wrong?
It's gone fine, and we're not Fox News. There's actually, I think there's been a real frenzy of reporting here in the United Kingdom and a lot of misunderstanding about what GB News is. But the reality is that it is a very different channel to what has existed here in the United Kingdom before. I think that one of the things that's not really understood about what GB News is that really it is about serving an audience that currently does not consume either Sky News nor the BBC. And we have a really great understanding of the GB News audience now. I think, well, as you said, we launched on June 13th. And we are really comfortable where we're at. The reality about GB News is actually that it is very much a digital business with a television linear channel on the side of it. And we're about to launch a radio network as well on DAB throughout the United Kingdom on the D1 DAB spectrum. In terms of audience, we are really comfortable where we're at. We've had 1 billion impressions online on GB News platforms since launch. We're about to overtake one of our rivals on YouTube subscribers that's existed for 6.5 years. In the last 14 days, we've beaten Sky News 3 times in prime time. Last night, we beat Sky News in one of our prime time slots. And earlier this week, we also beat Sky News and the BBC in one of our prime time slots. So the storytelling by our rivals in the media landscape does not reflect the reality of what the GB News story is. There is clearly a market for this, and it is I think it's got great promise ahead of it.
So I read out some of the ratings, the earlier ratings, you know, from launch night into July there. And there have been reports of 0 ratings, but a lot of channels, in fairness, get 0 ratings, particularly in daytime. So these are the BARB numbers, the official BARB numbers. What are the ratings at now, Angelos?
So I think last night we were at about 3/4 of the Sky News peak time audience, and Sky News is roughly at 3/4 of the BBC News Channel audience. It is I don't think we got any zeros yesterday, or the day before, or the day before that. This is all about zoning in on the weaknesses of a 24-hour news channel. And I mean, the reality is that no one talks about the Sky News ratings 34 years ago, or the technical problems that Sky News had launching, and there were many. So, and particularly in our environment where we are launching a very light touch digital platform driven news production system, we've been really comfortable where we're at in terms of our development from a technical perspective and audience perspective as well. The reality is programs like Neil Oliver or Free Speech Nation do really well on digital and are not necessarily made for the linear TV product. So we might get, I don't know, 20,000 viewers for a Saturday night show, but that same program does hundreds of thousands of views across digital media. And that is where the success of GB News really cuts through.
So that's all positive, and digital is going to be a huge help to you, no question at all. Everybody's consuming news on the go, and that's obviously a big area that you can capitalize on. But look, you've been kicked left, right, and center by various sections of the media, including the Telegraph, which I would have thought would be very much pro your channel. But were you, Angelos, your own worst enemy in launching the channel too quickly? Did you rush to air too fast?
No, we had a number of pressures on us to launch. We always knew our launch would be bumpy, and it was bumpy. That's the nature of the beast. We had undertaken a lot of rehearsals, but ultimately the technical issues that we had were down the line from us. A lot of them were, and some of it was experience-wise. But, ultimately, we are a small business. We're 130 people. Our budget is not £60 million. That was a reported number of our total fundraise. So that is not our budget. We are a mere fraction of Sky News budget and an even smaller fraction of the BBC News Channel budget. And ultimately, we're out there to disrupt the marketplace. And that is what we are doing. And we've seen the response from the rest of the media because those in the know can see what the numbers are doing, and they can see what GB News is achieving in terms of particularly its digital reach. And look, and quite frankly too, I mean, the fact that, we do beat Sky News in prime time after launching some 120 days ago against a 34-year-old business does actually say something about the desire of the community to receive different type of news coverage in the evening.
Okay, so I mean, look, you've quoted some figures there. Your primetime shows, they're picking up. You're comparing pretty well from what you've just said to me against Sky News and the Beeb, and in a very short period of time. So well done. And clearly there is a gap in the market for what you're doing. Where is the channel going to go? How do you describe the channel? Because everybody says it is right-leaning, it's pro-Brexit, it's anti-woke. Where is it positioned as far as you're concerned?
Look, we are purely about meeting a need of the audience outside the M25. There was a lot of I suppose positioning of GB News as being anti-woke and right-leaning, etc. That was not positioning that came from the GB News management team nor the investors. That is a position that has been portrayed in the marketplace. Yes, we do look at a broad range of political perspectives. Yes, we are an open platform and we do have surprising views on the GB News platform. But the reality is that, we are trying to do things differently. And that, in some respects, people do find surprising. And, it is something new in the United Kingdom. and we are very confident that we've got a strong future ahead of us. The wonderful thing about working for a disruptor and running a disruptor is that we can disrupt and we can do things differently. In the last 2 weeks, we've actually mounted really quite considerable coverage of both the Labor and the Tory conferences. So politics to us is a really important part of our future, and business news is an important part of our future. We've got terrific journalists, including Gloria De Piera, a former ITV political correspondent and former Labor MP, who's been has been doing amazing stuff, hitting it out of the ballpark in her political program. So in the last 2 months, we have launched 16 weekly political programs, and they are doing great business. And there is a need.
Okay, but I think you're evading my question, because you're either left, you're right wing, or you're vanilla, and you're right in the middle.
No. You've got it totally wrong. And this is the problem. This is the problem of categorizing channels and categorizing political perspectives. Just because you actually represent and bring to the discussion opinions from across the political spectrum doesn't make you left, right, or anything. You will hear more centrist and right of centre and left of centre voices in one place on GB News than you will see on any other platforms in the UK. And that is something that is absolutely unique. The fact that we even have voices that are centrist and right of centre on our channel does not mean that we are right of centre. And GB News has not changed at all in its perspective or in terms of its mission since day one. We have, however, refined our programming. We've worked out what works and what doesn't, and we've evolved very, very quickly. And that is what a new business does that is 120 days old.
Okay, so you launched, or we're a big part of the Fox News channel in Australia, hugely successful channel.
It's not Fox News. It's called Sky News Australia.
Sorry, I beg your pardon, Sky News Australia. But you did a huge job over there, and the channel became hugely successful. How would you describe its programming? Just to put it in context of what you're doing here, I'm just interested what you did in Australia with that channel to make it such a huge success.
Well, the Sky News Australia model, and it has changed somewhat in some respects since I left. It's very driven by news during the day, particularly a really big focus on politics. And in the evening, it has got appointment to view opinion programming. And in my time there, we had lots of Labor voices, lots of Conservative voices, in the same way that GB News does actually have a broad range of voices as well. So the doubling down on political coverage during the day is something that we're obviously pursuing quite vigorously. And we're also doing programming that's different. I mean, we're doing comedy-related shows such as Free Speech Nation on Sunday nights. We've got a lot of opinion programs, and we're bringing to light coverage from right across the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom is not London. We've just hired Arlene Foster, who is former political leader of Northern Ireland. We have many voices from Scotland. We have a significant commitment to covering news out of Wales. So, we are not another London media company.
Okay, all right. Can we talk about Andrew Neil? Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. So Andrew Neil was the star anchor on the channel. He was also the chairman of the channel. And a couple of weeks after the channel launched, we are led to believe, because of all the difficulties that the channel had, the technical difficulties and so on and so forth, he decided to go on holiday. Then a couple of weeks after that, after he'd been missing in action at his French Riviera holiday home, he announced that he was resigning from the channel. So bit of an odd one, where your lead anchor is gone and your chairman in one go. In an interview with the Daily Mail, Andrew Neil admitted that he, quote, came close to a breakdown as his time with GB News became more humiliating each day. I'm just going to read a little bit of this. Among the technical gaffes, Neil said there was a particular issue lighting non-white presenters and guests. We were also broadcasting from the most diverse multi-ethnic city in the world, and we couldn't light people of color. In the early days, you could barely see them for our backdrop. They faded into the background because we didn't light them properly. I raised the issue that the reputational damage we were risking was monumental. I said it was, quote, a disaster. There were endless things, and by the second week, things weren't getting any better. Some things were getting worse. It was terrible. Angelos, what do you say to that? What's your reaction to Andrew Neil throwing the toys out of the pram, walking out of the building? I've had enough. It's a disaster. How do you respond to that?
I think Andrew Neil made a huge contribution to GB News, and he did a terrific job in the lead up to the launch, and we thank him very much for his contribution, and we wish him well. On a technical front, yes, we did have technical problems, and we overcame them really quickly. And anyone watching the channel now would not recognize it from that first 10 days on air. We've got a terrific team. We've just mounted 2 huge outside broadcasts utilizing our own team, our own infrastructure, and you know, we're in really good shape. You know, things don't always go well. We're a startup. We started from scratch. That is a very, very challenging thing to do in this day and age. And we're really proud of the team. They've done a great job. They've persevered, and I think we're in a great spot right now.
So was Andrew Neil right to leave the channel? Do you think, was he the right fit for you? Was he the right fit for the channel? Was there an ideological difference?
I don't want to pass. This is not about having a conversation about Andrew Neil. You know, my view is that you know, startups are very, very challenging environments. Very challenging environment, and we thank him very much for his contribution.
Very diplomatically, politically correct answer there, Angelos. Well done. Thank you for that. Moving on, and you're right what you're saying. I mean, a lot of us in this room here, you've been in the ENEX room many times before. A lot of people have launched channels, and we all do know how difficult it is to do what you're doing. So you get a lot of empathy, I think, from people in this room, even if some people don't agree with the political leaning of the channel, even though you say it doesn't have a political leaning, but there is a very strong perception that you're pro-Brexit, anti-woke, right-wing. Whether or not you agree with that, that's out there. It's in the...
There's no such thing as pro-Brexit. Pro-Brexit's happened. It's real. It's happened. Like, you can't be pro or anti-Brexit. Brexit's a reality. So we're just purely reflecting where the United Kingdom is right now. So there's no overt political leading.
Are opinion news channels, whatever you want to describe them as, news channels that have opinion in them, are they divisive?
I don't think they're divisive at all. I think they're important parts of democratic discussion. I think there's a lot of opinion on, in fact, there's increasing amount of opinion on a whole range of channels here in the United Kingdom. I mean, you know, Sky News has just launched a Q&A type program themselves, a debate program, and I welcome all this. I think the more we can talk about policy, the more we can talk about our nation, the more we can talk about the things that matter to the people of the United Kingdom, the better democracy is, and the better it is for the media. You know, I think, you know, if there's one thing that GB News is doing, it's disrupting a media environment that has not changed for decades.
Well, you know, as a CEO of a channel myself, I'd be pretty worried, going back to your launch, when advertisers start running out the door. And certainly it appears several high-profile advertisers suspended their advertising with you because there was a lot of heat about the editorial position of the channel. Now, you're the CEO. If I was on your board, I'd be saying, Angelos, this isn't good. The advertisers are running away and we're only on the air a couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, look, I think that's I think a lot of those advertisers were just falling under pressure from social media and not actually consuming the product. And that is a problem that is increasingly behind us. So it's not really of a concern for us. We were cancelled by some of the online pressure groups before we even launched, before we even broadcast one single frame of video. So we weren't surprised. We're ready for it, and you know, we're taking a long-term view on this. we're not concerned.
So business is good. You're getting advertising revenue in. You're getting a lot of support now. You're going to be able to keep this thing on the road, are you?
We're doing better than people think. Look, the reality, launching any media business is challenging. We're the small guy in a really big media market, and we're all about super serving the UK audience. And the audience that currently is not necessarily consuming news on Sky or the BBC, and it's really gaining traction. But you won't read about another media because it doesn't serve commercial purposes and other people's positioning. But we're just quietly going around our business, going about our business and focusing on our audience and focusing on the community that we are building and the community that we're serving. And we're not really buying into the broader debate about about what people think of GB News. We are what we are, and we're really proud that we're making a difference in the media landscape. Look, quite apart from the fact that we have these are 125 new jobs for journalists in the United Kingdom at a time when jobs are going. So I think there's something that should be celebrated, the fact that any new media company starting in its own right is actually going out there and actually investing in journalism. That is a good story, and I'm sure everyone as part of ENEX would appreciate that. That's something that we should all celebrate. Anyone investing in journalism, and we've got our investors do believe in journalism for the United Kingdom, and I think that's a really wonderful starting point.
Okay, so going back to the sort of broader issue about 24-hour news channels, here's a question for you. Was Donald Trump a godsend to CNN and Fox in the United States?
I've never worked in the United States, but my observation is that he was a godsend to all media around the world. in terms of getting conversations going, certainly a really interesting figure. You can debate the politics of it, but certainly CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, they all did really well out of and quite frankly, you'd argue the same now with Joe Biden, right? There's a great talking point. So I'm sure they're all doing good business out of Joe Biden at the moment.
But do you believe that Trump, Fox US in particular, that Fox played a huge role in getting Trump elected?
Look, I'm not that familiar with the US market. I'm just a pure observer from it. I've never worked in the United States, so I'm not in a position to comment about what role Fox played or didn't play.
Okay, again, a very politically correct answer there, Angelos. But
I honestly mean it. I've obviously consume US media, but I've never worked in that marketplace, so I don't have an opinion to offer because
but you'll be fully aware, as we all are. We're not working in the United States either, but you'll be fully aware that the Trump factor for 24-hour news was a godsend, particularly to Fox and to CNN, who also went the other direction. And of course, once the viewing numbers were record during the whole Trump presidency, particularly for those two channels, slogging it out against each other. And of course, that was a huge boost to the revenues for both of those channels. So just as a guy who's in the business, you must have a view about whether or not somebody as divisive as Trump is 24-hour news.
But hang on, it's not about the divisiveness. All news events. I mean, you think about the news cycle that all news channels, in fact, all media have had over the past 5 or 6 years. I mean, you can, everything from Afghanistan to, the COVID outbreak, the whole lot. These are really big issues that, drive consumption. In all honesty, I'm not familiar with the ratings numbers or the peaks or what the financial outcome was for media companies from the Donald Trump presidency. I'm just not familiar with it, so I can't offer an opinion. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but you read the press the way we all do, and we've all read numerous reports about how the ratings for Sky and Fox went through the roof. I mean, you've seen that yourself, yeah?
Yeah, but I'm not. I don't have anything to compare that against. You know, I was for most of my time. I was actually either in Australia or in the Middle East working during that time. So again, look, I can't provide any commentary in terms of, you know, bottom line upside of Donald Trump's presidency. I just can't. I mean, it's a great story. It's a great story, obviously. And, you know, we've had lots of great stories.
Okay, well, all right. Well, as an observer, far, far away from the United States of America, certainly what I read was that the Trump factor clearly boosted ratings and generated substantial additional revenue for those channels. So that seems to be a fact. And really that goes to the heart of what I'm saying. Doesn't left-right politics play a huge role in the success of a channel like yours? Because if there is a divisive issue or a divisive individual, that
so
you
hang
can get on that train and go with it and make a lot of money out of it.
This is not about, hang on, no, like if you're implying that, you know, these channels are these types of channels are divisive for some sort of commercial outcome, that's not right. And that's actually not the driver of it. You know, we are really committed to debate. And any journalist worth their salt will be committed to having a proper debate of all sides of politics. Now, if that makes compelling television or compelling radio or compelling podcast or whatever, then that will be successful. But it's not engineered to be. It's not engineered. So I've got an incoming call here. It's not engineered to be commercialized like that. That's actually not the rationale behind it.
Okay, so I mean, it sounds to me like what you're saying is you're not actually in the business to make money, to make a profit.
Of course we are. Like, this is a commercial venture, but this is about driving viewership into a channel that actually connects with communities that currently don't consume much news, not much 24-hour news. And you know, that is our aim. You know, we're out there covering issues in the Midlands. We're covering stories in Wales. We're covering stories in Scotland. We're covering stories in Northern Ireland that don't relate to you know, Brexit. Like, we're doing a whole heap of stuff. It's different, and it should be celebrated that, you know, a new media company is coming onto the marketplace that is doing things differently. It's not coming out from the political perspective. It's coming out from the perspective of telling different types of stories.
So your plan obviously is you're going to be a long time in the media game. The channel is going to be around for a long time in the UK. Is that correct?
We're not planning on going anywhere soon.
Okay, now, but that costs a lot of money. You know that. As you said, you've got over 100 staff. You're probably going to want to expand that staff. Well, maybe you won't want to expand it actually, but you've got a lot of people you've got to pay. You've got some big bang presenters, allegedly on huge pay packets.
Where did you find that out?
Andrew Neil was reportedly earning $4 million over a 3-year deal or something like that. Now, look, that we all know that that's hearsay. But look, this is a commercial business we're in. We're all, as you said, we're here to make money, right? And television is a difficult game to make money in now with the onslaught of digital and so on and so forth. But one of the biggest guys in the industry, Rupert Murdoch, has decided he's coming back. He's going to launch a talk TV channel. Rebecca Brooks is out there. They're getting ready, and it looks like they're coming after you. They waited to see how your launch went. They will have read and seen everything that we've seen. What's your reaction to the big man coming at you?
We welcome competition. Bring it on.
Well done. Yeah, you're getting a round of applause here for that, Angelos. Now,
I'm not hearing it.
It was a little bit. Yeah, go on, give him a round of applause. Yeah, there you go. There.
Now I can hear it.
So Rupert and Rebecca had a long, hard look at your launch. They've decided several months later, okay, let's go for it. But what do we have to do to make this channel a success? And everybody said that the one thing possibly you should have done is what Rupert Murdoch has now done, and that's bring in the big gun of Piers Morgan. Why didn't you sign up Piers Morgan? Would he have made a huge difference to your channel?
Well, I think we were missing a zero off our offer.
But he's got pulling power and he pulls in the ratings.
Look, I think Piers is an extraordinary broadcaster. I wish him well. And look, from our perspective, we're a disruptor. We're not part of an existing mainstream media business. We're a standalone business, and we can pivot like no one else, and we can do things, at the drop of a hat like no one else. So, we welcome competition. We are competitive by nature. We entered this market as a competitor, and quite frankly, we are going to stick to what we're doing, and we're going to super serve the community. And we are unashamedly British, unashamedly a local, UK focused service. And I think the more the merrier. The more players that come into the UK media market, the healthier it is for democracy, the healthier it is for debate, and the healthier it is for journalists. More jobs for journalists. Now that's a great outcome.
Now it does look like he's got a different business model to yours in that he's going to leverage from all of his other outlets using presenters, producers, whatever, to feed into this new channel. So it sounds to me, as a news TV guy, that he's going to keep the costs way down, and he's going to make it very, very competitive. And with a big signing like Piers Morgan, I would suggest that puts your channel under a lot of pressure. I know it's only one anchor, but it means potentially it's payday for the big TV stars, news stars in the UK. But we'll wait and see how that plays out. There may be some questions here from the audience, Angelos, if that's okay with you.
Sure, why not? Bring it on.
Okay, and Adrian has.
I just warn you, I have to pick up my kids from school shortly, so I'm sorry.
Very important. That. Okay, we'll only keep you a couple of more minutes. So Adrian Wells has got the questions from viewers online and from some people in the audience here. Adrian.
Well, we've had a few questions, but maybe I'll just pick, I think, the one that's most relevant. And Micah, who's joining us from Cologne in Germany, mentions that Bild, the very famous and popular tabloid newspaper in Germany, is also just launching a TV channel, also claiming to be strong in opinion. So I guess the question is, Angelos, is have you started something? You started in the UK, maybe they had it in America, but have you now started a movement that's going to sweep opinion TV, is going to sweep across Europe? And if so, is that a good thing?
I'm kind of aware of what Bild are doing. I don't have any intimate knowledge of it, but I think anything that allows a discussion around democracy and issues and whatnot should be welcomed, regardless of I just think it's really healthy for the industry. And the reality is that and I've actually said this at ENEX conferences before, that news on the hour, every hour news channels are on the way out. That has been absolutely totally commoditized by digital media. So if you're going to be in the TV game, and if you are going to be delivering coverage of events, you've got to do it on an appointment to view basis, and it's got to have a point of difference to whatever you pick up online. I mean, I get all my breaking news direct to my phone via SMS or push notification. The era of having the TV on in the background just in case there's a breaking news strap, that's gone now.
Okay, Angelos. Well, we got a news line out of you. 24-hour news is on the way out. That's what you're saying. News on the hour, it's dead.
I'm not saying it's dead. I think it is. It's not as a vibrant marketplace as it is. And it's the reality, right? Digital is the breaking news platform, whether it be Twitter or push notifications or whatever. That's the way you find out your breaking news.
Angelos Frangopoulos, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy day. We really appreciate it, and we wish you the very best of British with your new channel. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Love to everyone at ENEX. Bye. Bye.
Very good. Thank you very much, Andrew, for hosting that session. I think obviously it's focusing on the UK market, the GB News, but I think the point of that session is that this idea of opinion news is not just limited to the UK. And I think it was an interesting question from Micah about how other countries perhaps are about to undergo this change in your own market. So if it's not happening yet, watch out for it in the future. So apologies for the few technical hitches we're having with our screen. Our friends in the technical department are trying to steady that up so we're not getting flashed at too much by it.